what's one of the things that you've learned over the years? What are the most important lessons that you would want to pass on to somebody else that's in the industry? Communities and joining communities and becoming part of communities was the thing that helped me accelerate my career in email.
Thanks for tuning in to the Email Marketing Podcast mini-series focused on delivering impactful insights in just about 10 minutes. I'm excited today to be joined by Andrew Bonar, co-founder of Email Expert and a MarTech community builder. Andrew, thank you so much for joining me.
No, thank you, Janice, for inviting me.
I wanted to talk to you today specifically about this idea of community building around email marketing in particular. So, we're trying to learn all these great insights about what to do with email and how to use email effectively for our brands or our clients. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about what these communities are and some examples for people who might be tuning in.
Sure, absolutely. I think reached out to you because I saw your post on LinkedIn where you were saying, like, what's one of the things that you've learned over the years? What's the most important lessons that you would want to pass on to somebody else that's in the industry? Communities and joining communities and becoming part of communities was clearly the thing that helped me accelerate my career in email and certainly becoming more international and stuff. And there's an awful lot of fantastic communities that have been around for ages. Some are newer, some have been extremely well established, but they're all awesome in their own ways. And, we could start with traditional conferences. And actually, if you even take a step further back, Twitter and just the hashtag email geeks, there's a whole community in there in itself, which is kind of organic. So on the Twitter level, and then some of the most important events in the email community would be things like Inbox Expo, Email Insider Summit, and Morg. They're all very, very different audiences. Those are very much communities because you find people are going again and again, maybe twice a year to two of their events. We go and have a look at communities built purely on email. There's a really interesting one called Only Influencers, and that's run by an amazing woman called Jean Jennings. And they run the entire community as an email list. So if you imagine like a shared email list, and it's a really good way of democratizing people's voices because everyone gets heard exactly the same way because it's all in one email coming to your inbox. Another one would be Email Geeks, which is a free community. So once I've mentioned previously that there'd be some kind of money involved. Email Geeks is huge in terms of how many people are there, and that's on Slack. Then you just need to apply, and generally, if you're in the industry, you'll get accepted in there, and that's really good for real-time responses. So, if I've got this problem with HTML code or deliverability, or I've just started noticing I'm being blocked here or there. Is anyone else seeing this? Really good for real-time responses would be the Email Geeks Slack community. On LinkedIn, you've got Email Marketing Gurus, which, there's hundreds and hundreds of LinkedIn groups. Again, I'm not affiliated with any of these people, so let me just make that clear. Some people might argue I compete with some of them, but I'm just sharing, some of the best organizations that I've been affiliated with in one way or another and have really helped me progress. Email Marketing Gurus, that's probably the best moderated. So the problem with communities anywhere is it needs to be moderated properly to keep it on track. And the folks that run Email Marketing Gurus do a really good job of that. So if you're looking for a community on LinkedIn and you don't want to download the application, you're not using Slack, then Email Marketing Gurus is pretty good. Getting quick responses. And we have our own Email Expert /Festians platform. And that's a little different because it's a gated community. You've got an app that you can download to your phone. There's a desktop version. It's like its own mini LinkedIn, Facebook in its own right. Full disclosure, obviously, I've got a vested interest in that one. We have free channels in Women of Email. Again, as a woman, you can join them for free. There are paid routes as well. But many of these communities have some way of attending or getting involved for free. From my perspective, it's delivered everything. It's delivered contacts, it's delivered clients, it's delivered mentorship, it's delivered just so many opportunities by being part of those communities at one time or another throughout my career.
That's fantastic. So you had mentioned the ability to ask questions and get real-time answers. I can think of my own experience on LinkedIn, just even with reaching out and saying, hey, could some email folks help me out? And the amount of people that piled on and said, yeah, we'd love to help, like just that in and of itself was a great example of that community that's built there. Would you say that they share insights in the same way, like ongoing insights in addition to answering questions?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, something like Only Influencers also have their website and the blog. So everyone who's a member of Only Influencers is able to contribute to that blog. And that's a lot more for leadership stuff. And this is where the industry is going and things. Email Expert, we have a mix of events. So we have very training type focused events where you're trying to work towards certification and learn specific things. And then we have more thought leadership type events. And we broadcast those online and in person. And yes, you're right. You need to find the right communities for where you're at. And it might be, I don't need anyone with the day-to-day stuff, and I can do without all that noise. And whilst they're, amazing people and they're all, super excited and they are part of my community, I don't want to dive into something that's going to require an hour or so of my time every day, something to really become part of it. Something like the Email Geek Slack community. It's so busy. There's so much going on. You need to invest a fair bit of time to really build strong relationships. I think you could probably spend 5 minutes and then build one really strong relationship that's more than worthwhile. Whereas something like Only Influencers, it's much less noise. You can hit the mailbox and just go and have a look at the blog post. And then Friday, generally, it tends to get a little bit busier on the list. And then different ones for different types of people in different stages of their career. So something like Email Insider Summit is an incredible experience anywhere where they hold those events, but they are also incredibly expensive. Some people may not think so. And if your company's paying for it, then absolutely. Now, I should say, if anyone's listening, if you're a really senior brand side person working at an established large brand, you can go to Email Insider Summit for free. In fact, they'll probably pay for your hotel if you're senior enough. But for the people in the industry working vendor side, that's going to be a fairly expensive conference to get to. And then you'd have to weigh up the time, the expense and money. Am I going to see a return on that? But you are going to see some incredible influencers. You're going to meet some very, very senior marketers and things. So that comes with a price tag in terms of where they're expecting to stay, the location, the hotel, everything else. I failed to mention one conference, which is Unspam, and they've got a really strong community as well. And that's very much the opposite, I would say, of something like Email Insider Summit, which are the C-suite and the real leadership. Something like Unspam, you've got a lot of people on the front lines, the people that are in the nitty-gritty getting things done, and they're really good at making sure that the tickets are affordable, that it's accessible. They do East Coast, West Coast, they also come out to Europe. So yeah, there are multiple communities out there, and finding the 1, 2, or 3 that's right for you. Most people that have been in the industry for a while are probably affiliated with 3 or even more, or even all of them. And you would definitely get different things from different communities.
Awesome. So you gave us a lot of great resources and hashtags that we can look at. One last question is, if someone's starting out, obviously defining what they're looking for from a community, would you say that there's a difference between like industries and even the types of emails? So does it get that granular in terms of sales emails versus e-newsletters, or e-commerce versus B2B?
I would say there is a split, and everyone that I've been talking about so far would sit outside anyone that's looking for cold outreach and doing that kind of cold sales by email. None of the communities I've mentioned, none of them are particularly fond, you can say. And I know that there are strong communities for people that are doing that type of thing. But in terms of B2B versus B2C, what you'll tend to find, or whether, it's fast moving consumer goods versus direct B2C or something else, you'll find that some of those communities, certainly like Inbox Expo, one edition might be very much focused on luxury goods. And then another event might be focused on travel and travel vendors. And then another one might be focused on another vertical. But the community itself welcomes all of them. We do have a B2B track as part of our Martech Festival, and I'm sure that there are those super targeted, and they definitely shouldn't be discounted. I'm talking about communities with probably all of them have 1,000 people associated. There's going to definitely be smaller niche within your particular niche. It's going to be these little communities that I have no idea about because I'm not in the thick of it, but I definitely wouldn't discount those opportunities by any stretch of the imagination. And if there's communities that, people that are listening are like, well, why didn't you mention that? It might be that I'm just getting a little lost and I've tried to remember everyone and I've forgotten someone, or it might be that I just haven't come across them. So please share, because I'm always excited to learn what people are doing.
Yeah, well, thank you for all that great insight into those communities. I'll be sure in the show notes to post some links to hopefully everyone that you mentioned, and definitely will encourage our listeners to let us know of any additional ones that they find value in. And thank you so much for the insight and helping people to realize the benefit of joining these email communities, and also giving us some great opportunities to connect with other folks in the industry. So, Andrew, thank you again. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. My pleasure.
All right. Have a good one.
Have a great night.